Well, Happy New Year to all of you. Ohio State and Oregon, it's a wrap in the Rose Bowl. I didn't see that coming. I'll be honest with you. I didn't see that kind of a blowout coming from Ohio State. Not that Ohio State couldn't have won it, but I didn't see the blowout coming. We'll talk about the Rose Bowl. We'll talk about the Buckeyes moving forward. Oregon season coming to an end. We won't forget about Penn State also. They're going to the semis. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get your comments too. Locked On Big Ten Live starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten Live. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Oregon, Ohio State, the rematch, much different result this time. We'll talk about it in detail. We'll get your comments on YouTube here as we are here live tonight and into the morning. What's next for Penn State as well? We'll talk about that. And we had other Big Ten teams in action over the last 36 hours, some final thoughts on their seasons. But let's stick to the main event here, the Rose Bowl. So it started out with Ohio State. Obviously, their game plan was to get it to their freshman phenom, man-child, Jeremiah Smith, their wide receiver, as much as possible. They were very successful in doing that. He had 7 catches, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the night. First 2 drives, it seems like they were really isolating on him. That first drive, Will Howard hooking up with him for 45 yards to make it 7-0. Boom. All right. Well, that was the game plan. It worked. Nobody's really fretting at anything on the Oregon sideline as of yet. In fact, the next time Ohio State had the ball, there started to be some defensive pressure from Oregon. They got to Will Howard. Jordan Birch got to Will Howard, and Ohio State had to punt. But at that point, and still moving forward, the Ducks offense just could not get off the ground in the first half. And the Buckeyes offense just kept going and going and going. It was very impressive. And that's when Emeka Egbuka, while everybody's paying attention to Jeremiah Smith, Egbuka slipped in behind the defense for a 42-yard strike. That made it 14-0 Buckeyes. Ohio State's next drive stalled. They still scored, but they got a field goal. It's now 17-0 here before our seats are warm on this deal. Oregon turns it over on downs. Ohio State 2 plays later. Will Howard finds Jeremiah Smith for a 43-yard strike to make it 24-0. We got 10:28 to go in the second quarter at this point, and it's a runaway game for the Buckeyes. Now, on the other side, things are starting to look pretty bleak for Oregon. Again, at this point, they've got nothing going whatsoever. Tez Johnson, I remember when I saw him get tackled, I go, ooh, that looks funny. And he was out for a long time. Had that, just his head, his whole neck. That just looked bad. He did come back into the game, but he took a hit up high. Jordan James, their running back, he went in the locker room and he was out. So leading for a good part of this game, leading running back out for the game and leading wide receiver out for much of the game, although he came back. Oregon still doing 3 and outs. And then the backbreaker, Travion Henderson, a 66-yard touchdown to make the game 31-0 at this point. Again, we're not even to the midway point of the second quarter. Think about that for a minute. We're not even midway through the second quarter, and this game was 31-0. Unreal. I've seen some crazy stuff watching Rose Bowls over the years, but this was out there. Oregon goes 3 and out after that. Ohio State had another 10-play drive, added another field goal, 34-0 with 3 minutes to go on the half. Now, this is when Oregon's offense finally woke up a little bit. In fact, they crossed the 50-yard line for the first time with 35 seconds to go in the half. Unreal. This Oregon Duck offense has been flying high all season long, and they had nothing till there was about a half a minute to go in the first half. And Trayshawn Holden caught the pass from Dylan Gabriel. I think it was for some 40 yards, got to the 22-yard line. There was the timeout with 3 seconds to go. Dan Lanning's going, all right, guys, we kick a field goal and just get something on the board, or we go for an all or nothing touchdown here. We don't get it. We shut out the first half. But they got it. It capped off a 10-play, 75-yard drive. Dillon Gabriel was under pressure, found Trayshawn Holden for a 5-yard touchdown. The 2-point conversion was good to Justice Lowe, 34-8. Still ugly? Not as ugly. At this point, 390 yards to 193. And the end of the day, Ohio State put up 500 yards of offense. I think Oregon finished around 275 right there at the end. That's how we go to the half, 34-8. Unbelievable. Never seen Oregon play like this all season long. And as for the Buckeyes, and you Buckeye fans, we're going to do another podcast on them going into Friday. Since that Michigan loss, I don't know what's happened. I kind of know what's happened. I'm going to talk about it. But since that Michigan loss and what they did to Tennessee and what they did to Oregon, wow, they got something fixed in their time off while Oregon and Penn State were busy playing in the Big Ten championship game. Ryan Day and the Buckeyes got something figured out. They look like the hottest team in college football right now. Vegas has them the favorite to win it all at this point. All right, so we're in halftime before we get ahead of ourselves too much. It's 34-8. Oregon was going to get the ball back first in the second half, right? So if they could do something there, maybe we have another one of those crazy second halves in the Rose Bowl that we've become used to over the years. And then Dillon Gabriel started to heat up a little bit. And there was that opening drive. It was 11 plays, 75 yards in the second half. Terrence Ferguson, 2 big catches. Trayshawn Holden, big catch. Justin Lowe, big catch. Noah Whittington, 2-yard touchdown catch from Gabriel. They kicked the 1 point. The extra point is 34-15. All right. Back-to-back drives with scores for the Ducks. Maybe we could settle in here and get ourselves a ball game. On top of that, the Oregon defense holds Ohio State to a 3-and-out. They had to punt it. Derek Harmon got in there, the Michigan State transfer, getting pressure. And it was just the second punt of the day. But all right, right now we're getting into the third quarter, and Oregon's starting to wake up a little bit. But then Jack Sawyer for the Buckeyes, he had a sack. He deflected to Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel had a lot of deflected and altered passes tonight. He's listed at 5'11". He's probably 5'10". He just got deflected a lot up there at the line of scrimmage. So they get forced into a 3rd and long, and then Corey Simon comes in with a sack, and it's a 3-and-out. And all of a sudden, Oregon's back to the way they were in the first half. And Ohio State is just retaking control of this game that they never really lost control of. There was a punt. Ohio State takes over at their own 45. More Jeremiah Smith time. There was the Oregon face mask. Half the distance to the goal, and Travion Henderson marches it in for 8 yards. 2:19 to go in the third quarter. Ohio State is up by an insurmountable 41-15 score at this point. Couple of traded possessions. We get into the fourth quarter. Oregon has one last shot. Trayshawn Holden from 27 yards. Dillon Gabriel finds him for the touchdown. They go for the 2. It fails. So that's how we got our final score, 41-21. We should note that on that particular play, and Dillon Gabriel won't care about this tonight, but that was his 155th career touchdown pass in college. That ties Case Keenum all time for the most touchdown passes. So, and that's where they both finish. They'll finish forever tied because that's it for Oregon, and Case Keenum is off and gone into the NFL these days. This is with 10 minutes to go. 41-21 ended up being our final score, and it just wasn't much of a ball game. I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. I really was. Now, I know Ohio State was favored in this ball game, and maybe it was largely because of what they did at home in their last game against Tennessee to start the playoffs. And Oregon had gone 25 days without playing a game since the Big Ten championship. Rust or rest. They talk about it on the broadcast tonight. It certainly seemed like you could make the case that the Ducks had a case of rust. Meanwhile, Ohio State is flying high right now, and they move on into the playoffs, and they will take on Texas, which had a win today against Arizona State in double overtime. So we'll get into all that. In the meantime, I see all your comments piling up. We'll hit those up in just a second. While I have all of your attention here on our live broadcast here tonight, thank you for checking us out. If you just found us, we've been here every day, Locked on Big Ten, all things Big Ten, news, opinion, analysis, right here every day. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can be in the know and be with us each and every day. It's free. Will always be free. Just hit the black subscribe button and you're good to go. And you can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, again, you'll get the latest episode as soon as it comes out each and every morning as usual. When we're not live, we crank them out every morning, video and audio for you. And don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10.com. That's with the number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. Again, if you're new and you want to go back and check out what we've said about your favorite Big Ten school in the past, we list all of our podcasts chronologically, or we also group them by your favorite school. If you just want to see Penn State stuff, we'll put it under Penn State. You just want to see Ohio State stuff, we'll put it under Ohio State. And we also have links if you want some Big Ten merchandise, shirts, pennants, T-shirts, hats, coffee mugs for the office for the new year. Maybe you didn't get something for Christmas that you wanted in the old stocking stuffer. You get it right there, talkbig10.com. There are links all over the place. All right, so I want to get to a lot here. We're going to continue. We're going to get to your comments on Ohio State and Oregon. We got to talk about Penn State. They're getting to the semifinals as well. So we got a lot to do. I want to cover it all here on this live podcast. And we can talk about all the other Big Ten teams that have played in the last 36 hours, kind of wrapping up their season. Since we're so football intensive, we should say something about each and every one of those teams. All that's coming up right here. In 1 minute, hang with me here on Locked On Big Ten Live. Let me tell you about Game Time. You want to attend a game? You want to attend one of these college football playoff games? Incredible experiences, bringing fans together, whether it be playoff games, Big Ten basketball games, concerts, all that stuff. Game Time's where you get your tickets. Game Time will have your tickets. They got a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And you use it, you browse through it, deals that are right there. It's a breeze. Find all sorts of values, super deals, all right there. Plus, on the on-time ticket delivery, lowest price guarantee, complete peace of mind for everybody. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And check out our website, talkbig10.com. All right, let's hit up some of these comments. I know a lot of disappointed Ducks fans, a lot of joyful Ohio State Buckeyes fans. We'll check these out here. And lots of them going on here. Smoked duck for dinner. I know that was coming. I know that Dallas checking in with that. And with a positive thought, at least Oregon won the Big Ten in their first season. Absolutely. Look, it's disappointing tonight. You Ducks fans that have found us here on Locked On Big Ten have been amazing. I'm sure you'll continue to be amazing. I'm going to enjoy continuing to talk about the Ducks. They won the Big Ten this year. And when we all look back on the season, they were Big Ten champs. 2025, they'll be the defending Big Ten champions. Who knows? Ohio State, though, may be defending national champions the way they're rolling right now. Let's see. Jeff OH. All right. Somebody else has to say IO, right? That's how that. Oh, Carla's in there with the IO. There you go, Carla. Big time Buckeyes fan. Carla's very happy tonight. And Jim says it looked like varsity versus freshman in his eyes tonight. Kind of did. And again, that's surprising because that was a good Oregon football team. Let's see here. And somebody 392 Kai talking about the injuries. You hate that for Oregon. They had to play without a couple of the best players for sure. Look, Ohio State had injuries on their offensive line from a few weeks back, even one dating back to the Oregon game in October, and they had to shuffle around. They look good. They look good. Dadius Prime says, I honestly think having 3 weeks off could be a disadvantage for teams. 1 week buys are one thing, but 3 weeks is a lot. Yeah, I think there was some there. Now, I mean, Ohio State had the week off when the Big Ten championship game was going. It's like they had a 2 week break as well. And these teams are used to playing bowl games a month later anyway. I mean, the Rose Bowl's always back in the day before conference championships. You'd play the Michigan Ohio State game and all the rivalry games on November 30th, and then you wouldn't play till January 1. Of course, it was a bit long, the rest. It certainly was. Let's see. Another comment. 3 weeks off was a disaster. Yeah, I think we can talk about that. I think you're right. Let's see. Tim's Tank. Will we get an all Big Ten national championship? Yeah, because we still have to talk about Penn State. They're in the bracket. I would love an all Big Ten championship. That would be fantastic. So let's see. Let's see. More coming, more from Carla. Man, let's put an all Big Ten national championship on the air. Yeah. You're right. Paul Feinbaum and Lane Kiffin will be in shambles. That's a good comment, Carla. You're right. Absolutely. Paul Feinbaum will lose his mind. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, well, Troy says Oregon should call the police for what Ohio State did. They wrecked them. There was no doubt about it. So a lot of great comments out there. I appreciate that. Rob checking in. Congrats to the Buckeyes for playing with your hair on fire. My Ducks were clearly unprepared. Yeah, I don't know if they're unprepared, if they were. Maybe they were. We all knew Jeremiah Smith was going to be a focal point of that offense. I wonder if the 3 weeks off, they didn't have it together. They weren't ready to go. And Ohio State is as hot as a firecracker right now. Anyway, thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. We'll hit some more in just a little bit. I do want to mention, in addition to Oregon and Ohio State, who's now moving on, Penn State is also moving on, and New Year's Eve, they were out there, and they blew open their Fiesta Bowl playoff game against Boise State 31-14. In our Locked On Big Ten preview before that game, we said Penn State had one job to do, and if they would do it, they would win. And they did do that job. They contained superstar running back Ashton Jeanty, the leading rusher in the country and Heisman runner-up. And when I say contain them, I mean hold them to 100, which is a pretty good game for about every other running back. Don't give them 200. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. They held them to around 100 yards. Tom Allen's defense, great job. Held them to a season low 104 yards on 30 carries, just 3.5 yards per carry. He averages over 7 yards per carry throughout the year, but Penn State ranks 7th in the country against the run, and they hold running backs on average to about 3.1 yards per carry. That's what they did. They did what they normally do against running backs and did it against Jeanty. So pretty good. In fact, also Jeanty 27 yards shy of Barry Sanders' single season rushing mark at Oklahoma State back in 1988. Didn't get it. Penn State didn't give it up. And on the other side, the Nittany Lions running game was pretty strong too. They got 216 yards on the ground, 134 by Kaytron Allen, 87 by Nick Singleton, who had 58 on that one touchdown. Meanwhile, Drew Aller with 3 touchdown passes in the game. And Penn State's on a roll right now. When these games, since they came up short in the Big Ten championship game to Oregon, they have easily defeated SMU in their first round of the playoffs. And they opened up things in the second half there against Boise State. And now they advance to the semifinals. They'll take on the winner of the Notre Dame-Georgia game, which is supposed to be going on right now. That game will be played tomorrow or on Thursday afternoon, because there was the tragedy in New Orleans. A lot of people died, and so they decided to pause for a day on that football game. With the Sugar Bowl. So sad situation out there. So the winner of the Notre Dame-Georgia game tomorrow will take on Penn State January 9th in the Orange Bowl. Okay. And then elsewhere around the Big Ten, I want to mention on New Year's Eve. Michigan continued to prove our argument here on Lockdown Big Ten that the Big Ten is indeed greater than the SEC with its 19-13 win over Alabama. Alabama coach Kalen DeBoer, I think he's seeing maize and blue in his nightmares. He was the head coach at Washington last year in the national championship when the Wolverines beat him there. And then also the Wolverines ended Alabama's season last year. So all kind of ties together. And yeah, they beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl January 1st, 2024. And then they beat Alabama again the last day of 2024. Jalen Milroe was sacked 5 times, forced him into 3 turnovers, that Michigan defense. So Sharon Moore, tough fight, finished 8-5, given I think what he was dealt. No quarterback. 8-5, okay. You know, there's worse records around there. 8-5. They get the ReliaQuest Bowl win. His first year as a head coach is over. A lot of excitement in Ann Arbor. Freshman Bryce Underwood coming in next year. Also around the Big Ten, congrats to Brett Bielema. His Fighting Illini capped off a 10-win season with a chippy 21-17 win over South Carolina in the Citrus Bowl. And I say chippy, even Bielema and Gamecock head coach Shane Beamer jawing back and forth in the game. But the Fighting Illini, a 10-win team from the Big Ten. It was a Sun Bowl. Washington scored 13 fourth-quarter points against Louisville, including a touchdown with 9 seconds to go. They were down by 1. They decided to go for the 2-point conversion and go for the win. They failed. They lose 35-34. Jed Fish finishes 6-7 in his first year as the head coach of the Huskies. And a final thought, going back just a bit earlier this week on the Iowa Hawkeyes. You know, they gave up 2 late field goals and lost 27-24 in the Music City Bowl to Missouri. Kirk Ferentz remains at 204 wins as the head coach of the Hawkeyes. That's still 1 win from matching Woody Hayes at Ohio State as the all-time winningest Big Ten coach. Mark your calendars now. This gives us something to point to all summer long. We'll wait for the Hawkeyes season opener in 2025 against Albany, August 30th, where perhaps he will tie Woody Hayes there and then move on for the rest of the season. We'll love more of your comments. We'll get to all of those in just a second, and we'll have a final word moving forward to what we can expect with these games now with the Big Ten and the playoffs. We'll take care of all of that in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten Live. I want to tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel, the NFL playoffs are right around the corner. And it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has a bunch of ways for you to get the win, prop bets, all that kind of stuff. Lots of fun. You can predict or make bets on. And that's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So check that out. FanDuel is a lot of fun. I highly encourage it. It's a lot of fun to join that. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, as we continue here on Locked On Big Ten Live, we'll get to some more of your comments in just a second. Bear with me with that. Final word about some things going on here. And we got one more Big Ten team in action that hasn't played a bowl game, by the way, in case you haven't been paying attention to the post-January 1 bowl games on the docket with these important playoff games going on. But Friday night, PJ Fleck's Golden Gophers face. The game is at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN, and we'll preview this game in tomorrow's broadcast. So we'll check that out here on Locked On Big Ten. The Gophers are 9-point favorites, and we'll pick that game as part of our regular pigskin picks that we do every Friday. Looking further ahead. So here we go. Ohio State, they beat Oregon. Ohio State will take on Texas now. Texas won in overtime against Arizona State earlier today in the Peach Bowl, 39-31, 2 overtimes. So this next game, Texas and Ohio State, will be at 7:30 Eastern on Friday, January 10th. We will go live after that game on next Friday night, January 10th. So as soon as that's over, we'll go live like we do right here. Also, Penn State will play the winner of Thursday's delayed Notre Dame Georgia Sugar Bowl. That means Penn State's next game will be Thursday, January 9th at 7:30 Eastern. We will also go live after that football game here on our Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel as well. So next week, looking ahead, Thursday and Friday, we'll both have Thursday night and Friday night. We'll have live broadcasts, live podcasts where you and I can exchange immediate reaction on to both of those. So mark your calendars now for next Thursday and Friday, the 9th and the 10th. And then check us out every morning with our regularly scheduled podcast here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, let me check out a few more comments, see if any Penn State people jumped in, if we're still a lot of people coming in from the Oregon and Ohio State game. Donald says, I like their chances. Are you talking about Penn State? Or are you talking about, I think we're talking about Penn State now. Oh, okay. Penn State always plays Ohio State close. We're looking ahead to a possible national championship. Donald also says Ohio State may be the best. It doesn't mean they can't be beaten. That's true. They do look good right now. This is not the same Ohio State team. Look, Ohio State was good all year. Sure, they lost to Oregon by a point. They lost to Michigan. And all the other games, they were good. They were good against Penn State. They weren't great like they have been in their last two games. Something has changed. And again, we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's podcast as well. Anyway, and a lot of this, the live comments appears to be you guys going back and forth with a little trash talking. That's always good. Donald says Penn State over Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Here's Tim. Tim's tank. Go blue. Got to throw that in there. 2 straight over Bama and 4 straight over Ohio State. Oh, you're gonna get trouble on the comment line tonight for that one. But it's true. But you're gonna get in trouble. Anyway, I appreciate all your comments here. This looks fantastic. Keep them going. I'll check in on them later tonight and tomorrow after our live podcast here. Again, we'll be regularly scheduled. Friday morning, we'll have our podcast out and back to regular Monday through Friday next week, except for the live ones we'll do next Thursday and Friday. Mark your calendars for that. In the meantime, if you want to reach out, check us out. Twitter, X, Talk Big Ten with the number 10. Our website, you see the crawl on the bottom, talkbig10.com. As soon as we're done, go check it out. We got other podcasts, all Big Ten stuff right there chronologically and group by school, and links to your favorite merchandise if you want to snag something while you're there. And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. More on the Buckeyes tomorrow on our next podcast. All that coming up. So always appreciate you checking things out here. Tell your friends about us that we're out here as well. Continue to have a happy new year. For Locked On Big Ten Live, I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you next time.